The meaningful involvement of people who use substances in our day-to-day lives and work is incredibly important because they have an intrinsic understanding of the population, of the culture, so that we can then take that knowledge and create programming that is meaningful and truly helpful to the population to help them be safer and healthier.
So we really need to start with having people who use drugs at the design, development, the idea phases, and have them throughout the process of any policy, program, or service designed for people who use drugs.
À propos de nous, on dit rien à notre sujet sans nous. Alors, il s'agit de nous. Si on n'est pas au centre des politiques qui nous concernent, si on n'est pas au centre de la conversation, il y a un problème et ça ne fonctionnera pas. Les méthodes ne fonctionneront pas parce qu'il faut que ça parte de nous. Nous avons la solution, nous connaissons, nous savons de quoi nous avons besoin. Il faut simplement écouter les personnes utilisatrices de drogue.
Nothing about us without us. So very often, if we're not involved, it's hard for someone on the outside to understand someone that's gone through substance use, some hardship, and a bunch of things.
We really need to give the jobs to the people who need them the most, the people who created these services. We need equity in harm reduction, and I don't think we've seen it yet. We need more people that are actively using, sitting at the table where changes are being made. There's so much, right? But even just telling your story can change people's lives, right? So really even just kind of coming there, being open and honest about your former or current drug use brings so much to the table that someone who doesn't have drug use can't bring.
So there's one thing that we do is we're very good at observing our environment. So there's a heightened awareness. I guess we could call it street smart. That would be the only word I could find is street smart.
I think that there's nothing like lived experience to keep you honest and to keep the program grounded in what it needs to be doing.
People who use drugs bring a lot of skills to the harm reduction work that we do. I think the biggest one is relationships and the community connections. They have community connections that somebody who's coming straight out of social work with little to no experience in the field just simply doesn't have, and probably will never have.
The only reason why we're successful is because of the people with lived and living experience who work on the team. Without them, there's no mutuality, there's no authenticity, and there's no trust. And so the lived experience that people bring to the work is incredibly vital in order to actually see a reduction in risk and a reduction in the harms that many people experience.
De confiance qui est peut-être plus rapide pour certains. Et puis, c'est ça. Ça permet aussi d'avoir, tant qu'on dit confiance, on est aussi en train de lutter contre la stigmatisation. On n'est pas en train de juger nécessairement. Donc, les communications sont, à mon avis, plus fluides, si je peux dire.
Where it really starts is among everyone who works in the organization is that they understand the structural drivers of harms of substance use. That's really important because otherwise we would be bringing people who use drugs into an environment where there may be a lot of stigma, where there may be a lot of judgments, and then that becomes not just unproductive, but unsafe.
Have people who use drugs co-lead these programs. I think they have so much that we can learn from each other.
When we're hiring people also from the community, they also have to have the same opportunity for advancement as anybody else.
D'être considéré au même titre qu'une autre personne, que ce soit dans une équipe de travail ou que ce soit lorsque l'on va rechercher un service de santé ou de service social. C'est une prémisse qui est fort importante à conserver en tête.
And I think, it's so important to give people a chance. Pay them what you would pay someone else, right? Like, why would you pay them any different, right?
Je pense qu'un employeur qui veut aller vers l'embauche de pair, ben c'est sûr qu'il va falloir les soutenir.
The mantra of nothing about us without us is incredibly important. And when it comes to engaging and consulting with people with lived and living experience of criminalized drug use, there's a very common pattern and trend in which tokenism is the tool of choice. Ultimately, all of those issues lead to failed programming, and programming that fails to launch because it's not adequately informed by the people who are most affected by it.
C'est pas juste les inclure dans la réflexion sur l'organisation, mais ces gens devraient être des travailleurs au sein de l'organisation, doivent faire partie du conseil d'administration. Tu peux pas juste être usagé. Il faut que les intervenants, qu'il y ait une bonne partie des travailleurs de l'organisation et des membres de la direction qui soient des personnes utilisatrices de drogue.